right, good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, January 12th, 2015, and this is Before the First Cup with Jules and Zorie here on UCY.tv. Good morning, Zorie. How are you?
Good morning. Okay, and you?
Pretty tired.
Mm-hmm.
My throat hurts again.
Sounds like
I think it's the heat. I was just realizing, my room, it looks like we got couple inches of snow last night, but it got cold again, and my heat must have kicked in last night, and I woke up, it was real bakey toasty in there.
A dry throat from
but my throat's real sore now, and it wasn't before I went to bed, so there wasn't much else that happened. I slept, and it was warm.
Yeah, if it's too warm in a room, my throat gets real scratchy, too, because you end up breathing through your mouth. I do.
I think that's exactly what happens because my nose gets dry because it's so warm in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how many? 2 inches of snow?
Yeah, or just a little.
Just a little bit. Oh, so you got power back in your house? I see.
Yeah, just like we did Friday where they ran the cable across my neighbor's yard. I still have a cable running across my neighbor's yard, so it's not over yet.
Oh, no. Yeah, I had to leave right after the show, and I was gone all weekend. But, wow, that's crazy.
They said they weren't going to be able to be back till next week, so it'll be interesting to see when they decide to come back and what they decide to do.
Wow. Well, it was nice of your neighbor to let them do that, because I'm sure their bill's going to be sky high.
They put a meter on it or something for us, so...
Oh.
I don't think that's any issue.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's about it. That's about it. Anything else that happened this weekend? I worked on UCY stuff, and I slept. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's it. You're all caught up now.
Yeah, I took off and worked and then went to played on Mount Shasta for a while. For a couple days, so it was nice.
I made a decision too. Mondays. This will be the last Monday that I'm going to be on. I can't do Mondays. When I do 7 days a week, I cannot come back and do Monday morning. So either you guys will have Mondays or I'm just going to run hell on Mondays. My Facebook header for this page says, Mondays have been canceled. Oh, wait. No, it was something like, due to lack of interest, Mondays have been canceled. And yeah, that's how I feel. I can't do 7 days, and Monday morning just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I hear ya. Well, hopefully Wendy will be back by next Monday.
Yeah, and if not, then I'll just hell runs Monday, that's all.
I could take the sleep in. Mondays are hard for me, too.
Well, Mondays are hard for me because I'm not ready to start another week. I still haven't had a day off. And when it goes on endlessly forever and ever and ever, it's how it starts out then where I don't want to do this anymore. So if I don't get a day off, things go bad quickly. I cannot, every single day of my life cannot be about cutting shows in the network.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be a day where I can sleep in, or there's got to be a day where I don't have to be here, where this thing isn't ruling my life.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's not going to last much longer. I need a day off. And Mondays, I don't get a show until Sunday night, so now I got another show I got to cut on Mondays, but if it's just one show, that's all right. At least I don't have 15 like I have to do for the weekend.
Wow. I don't know how you do it myself.
Well, it's getting close, so I need to take a day off at least. Just one day off.
Right.
I don't care who does it, but I'm not going to be here from this Monday on.
Good. Get some rest. You have to. You got to watch your health, lady, because without your health, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Exactly. And the fact that my throat hurts again is not a good sign.
No. And being up I mean, working all the time causes stress. Stress causes health issues.
Well, yeah, so Saturday and Sunday, I had massive headaches when I woke up from my nap. And you know why? Because I was laying there with my teeth all clenched. You know what causes teeth clenching? Stress.
Yes.
And never getting a day off.
Yep, stress can kill you. People don't realize that. You gotta watch your health, because then there will be no shows, period.
Well, that also leads to like adrenal fatigue and all the issues that I had before. And here I am now getting sick. And this is exactly why I'm not an engineer anymore. Why I'm not running a division. You know what I mean? It was too much stress.
Yeah.
So, no, I gotta end it. You know, and for as much as I've told myself 30 times, no, I'm okay. You know what? It's this place now that's causing me the problems. Mm-hmm. And if I'm the only one that's sitting here trying to drag it all behind me, can't be. It just can't be.
Exactly. So, take Mondays off.
I need Mondays off.
Yeah.
All right, so I see a story here this morning from greenment.info. There were actually a few stories about that Sativex. I saw, it's probably too early for me to even start trying to access the memory hole, because it doesn't work Monday mornings. But I know I saw a story about it, and it hadn't said good things. Hold on. If I can get there.
Oh. Oh, excuse me. I need more coffee.
I've only had 2 sips. Oh, maybe. Actually, I posted a couple things here, so there might be. Oh, Big Pharma marijuana drug fails clinical studies. Where's that? Let's see.
Oh, really?
Well, and this is from an alternative media publication, so that's why I'm going to take a look here. All right. With marijuana legalization on the horizon. So this is a Sativex. We just had all kinds of money go behind this, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were reading on Friday about it.
All right.
Here. Return investment for... Hold on. Oh, fuck. I gotta turn that off, too. Oh, it's feeding back your white noise. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
That's weird. All right. I gotta flip first. Maybe. That was my coffee cup.
Well, we begin this half hour with how Wall Street is going to pot. This week, for the first time, a major investment firm announced it is going to put its money behind marijuana.
It's a move the company believes will open the floodgates for more investment, an important step on the path to end pot prohibition. How big an investment are we talking about?
A multi-million-dollar investment.
Jeff Lewis's firm, Founders Fund, a $2 billion company, made its name investing early in Facebook, Spotify, and SpaceX. Now, they're betting on pot.
Was there a lot of discussion in your office about this?
We discussed all our investments for a long time. So particularly in this space, obviously, we did a extra deep dive on the business.
The business is recreational marijuana.
Is this a watershed?
It is. It's an important milestone for us as a company, but it's really important for the entire industry.
Brendan Kennedy is CEO of Privateer Holdings, the parent company of 3 cannabis brands. Tilray, which grows marijuana in Canada, Leafly, an online database of different pot strains and stores, and Marley Natural, from the family of reggae star Bob Marley, which aims to become the Marlboro of marijuana.
How difficult is it to get investment money like this now?
Raising money is always difficult, but raising money in this particular industry is the hardest thing I've ever done.
But Founders Fund is backing Kennedy's companies because they see a future in what they say is already a $40 billion business in the U.S.
We will see it transform from being a market that's based on prohibition, an illicit market, to being a fully legal, transparent, open market.
We have no special regulations.
UCLA professor Mark Kleeman, who studies the cannabis marketplace, warns investors, beware.
A lot of people are crowding into the marijuana industry because they think they're going to be able to sell a legal good at illegal prices. Competition's not going to allow that. Legal cannabis is going to be dirt cheap. And I think a lot of people are going to lose their shirts trying to sell it.
If they don't get arrested first. Under federal law, marijuana is still illegal. While the Department of Justice says it won't prosecute cannabis companies following state laws, that could change.
Do you see any risk that sentiment could shift back here?
I don't see that risk. Over 80% of Americans believe that medical cannabis should be legal, 8 out of 10. You can't get 8 out of 10 Americans to agree on anything.
This is a milestone. It's like the first major Wall Street type investment firm that's backing a marijuana company. And as we say, they're hoping this is just the beginning now.
Fascinating to hear how the market will respond if it's flooded with it, that the prices will go down.
Well, I mean, yeah, the feeling is that, as they actually say, that everybody who wants to use marijuana is using it, but the transition to a legal marketplace is what's really going to open things up. All right, tomorrow on 60 Minutes, 1 year after Colorado legalized the sale of marijuana, Bill Whitaker speaks with Governor John Hickenlooper about the inevitable problems and what's being done to solve them. That's tomorrow night on 60 Minutes. You're on
there you go. One thing that's interesting is, here, let me kill the Skype so it doesn't, where's the off button? There. Okay. A friend and I one time had actually postulated how it would affect prices. So I've managed to spot check over the last year, and if you can actually even believe it, it's been a year it's been legal. Doesn't that seem like it was just a few months ago? I mean, a whole year went by. But prices have dropped about in half in the last year. There are websites out there that'll actually give you, all the places around a certain area and what it's going for. And back in the very beginning, it was running anywhere from like $400 to $500 an ounce with the tax that they put on it. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember how much the tax was. Do you? Wasn't it like a 30%?
Yeah,
it was pretty
like 25
high.
Or 30. Yeah,
it was. It was 2 taxes put together, but it added like a 20 or 30% total tax on top of it. But yeah, it had been running anywhere from $400 to $500 an ounce, which that's pretty damn expensive. But I guess if it's some super high quality shit, then you don't need as much. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's still high.
Yeah, that is high. But last time I looked, which was probably a few months ago, you were definitely looking around, $250. Anywhere down to like 175 to 250, I think, is about what I saw in the scale. And I was like, that's about average. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And to be guaranteed some good stuff with quality control, and they give you, they have one of the things when we were talking about that Sativex on Friday was about the fact that they literally were going to be able to tell you it would be like a pot ABV, right? Well, that's what they were going to be doing with the cannabinoids. They could tell you what the concentration was for treatment purposes, so it was standardized. You had standardized labeling and measure type things, so you could you could grade strengths. And so I thought that was pretty cool, but like I'm saying, if you could get it at street prices, but get it in an established manner, I think people would rather do that. You know what I mean? If there's regulation versus who knows where it came from or what they were spraying on it, you know? If something was regular. But here's the thing. Just like they were saying from an investor perspective, and I'm just, you know, I mean, we talked about all of the ulterior motives and all this last week, but just from an investor perspective, somebody who at one point did dabble with, you know, my few extra chump changes in the stock market back in the early 2000s, who then lost everything. It was horrible. I mean, I had a few $100s in there, and twice I lost everything.
Wow.
So I don't mess around in there too much anymore. And one was because they lied about all their earnings. It was really horrible. Those people were criminal, and they should all went to jail. But no, all the stockholders and the pensioners lost all their money.
Right.
And the company just went belly up and declared bankruptcy and paid off all the debtors with all the money that belonged to everybody else.
Exactly.
You know, shouldn't have the stockholders been paid off first, since they were the ones that gave you all the money to invest that you lied about?
That's not how it works these days, you know.
But instead, you paid off all the creditors that shouldn't have given you credit in the first place. I just spilled coffee on my clean sweatpants.
Oh, no.
All right. So anyway, but getting back to the investors. So you got falling prices. Now, it makes you wonder if it's going to fall anymore. If it falls anymore, that would be even more interesting, because that would be like sub-street level.
Well, the more competition, it has to drop more.
Well, right. You're going to have more competition. You're all, and they haven't even opened it up to generalized licenses yet.
Right.
I think that was at the end of year 2 I was reading, because I actually dug into, you know, of course everyone has pipe dreams and like, oh, what a great idea. We can go sell, you know, open a dispensary in Colorado. Well, there's lots of rules. It costs like $40,000 just for the licensing. If anyone hasn't looked into it, I actually did. I looked at all the different things you had to do.
Look to California. All the people that invested in all those dispensaries, and they weren't going to bust them, and they've busted almost all of them.
Yeah, we had a friend who actually sold everything and went there and opened a dispensary, and they were doing great. And then the feds came in, they lost everything. Yeah, so he's back here now.
So when they say the feds aren't going to, you know, bother you if you follow all the rules, that's bullshit, because I've seen it for myself right here.
Well, you know, and the thing is maybe today they're not, but tomorrow they might get a bone up their ass for something and decide that they need some more freaking tax revenue, or they need to, you know, pump the numbers up for some UN bullshit treaty that they signed, you know? Who knows?
Like here, they change the rules all the time. Now, that thing passed where now you used to be able to grow, you know, 6 plants at your house. Now, if you want to grow 6 plants, you have to build a $12,000 building separate from your own home with all these codes and regulations. So they just keep changing it and changing it and changing it. So, you know, I wouldn't go into that market at all.
Yeah, I don't think. And you know what? Did you hear there was like a $2 billion equity firm, too? They were pretty hefty.
Right. So, I don't know. I wouldn't invest in it, and I never wanted it to be legalized anyway, because I don't trust the government not to spray it with bad stuff.
Well, and you know what? That's absolutely, and let me just bring this up, because I tossed this by a friend the other day, and I think he totally ignored it, and then last night he actually brought it up like it was a brand new idea, and it's like I was trying to say that in so many words without saying it, you know, because I mean,
right.
you don't blab shit out, you know, like that, but yeah, this illness that everybody's getting, I was like, you know, it all starts with this sore throat. What if, and I mean, we were talking about that, it's not like they haven't done it before, paraquat. You know, what if now that it's all acceptable and everyone's like high on the hog, no pun intended over this, you know, and they're all excited and they're going to roll it out here and there, whatever. what if, because I'm still telling you, this doesn't sit right with me. It's been banned all these years. Your whole life you've been taught to be paranoid. And just all of a sudden, out of the blue, while we have this police state rolling into town coming near you, and they're like, yeah, here you go, I'm the candy man. You know, that to me is like, don't take candy from strangers.
There you go.
There's something not quite right about that.
Yeah.
You know, and like I was saying on Friday, honestly, the whole GMO thing, I think, is a big part of it, because Uruguay, all I've been reading, and now I've seen it's gotten really quiet, but that's something I really want to dig into, is like exactly what they're GMO straining in Uruguay. Because once that hits the market, and it's legal, so they'll be able to track it, right?
Right.
You know, I don't know, I'm assuming that people are probably, if they're smart, they're still paying cash for it. But I bet you there are people who are dumb enough to use their cash card.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't. And, you know, the thing, I mean, they have cameras at all these.
Yeah, that's true. All of Colorado, they have the license plate scanners in and out of the state. And I'm sure that there's probably surveillance nearby every one of the dispensaries.
Yep, go in, buy it, and try and go across the state next door. They got, you know, they'll know who you are and pull you over.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. You know, that's one thing you don't want to do. And they warn that in the very beginning. Do not take it across state borders.
Right.
And, yeah, guess what state is one of the states right next door to Colorado? For those of you who aren't up on your geography, but good old New Mexico.
Yep. Yeah, we know about
what happened in New Mexico. Man, 14 hours up close and personal.
Very personal.
Yeah, so I would not highly recommend it in any way, shape, or form, unless you want to get Rover up your butt.
Yeah.
Woof, woof. And he doesn't understand butt clenching.
Oh, my God.
And I mean, that poor dude, all he did was roll the stop sign at Walmart. That was so awful. Could you imagine, like, totally screwing up your Sunday?
And then get billed for it.
Yeah, he got billed for it. I forgot about that.
$6,000. Yeah.
Oh, and he sued him and he won. I don't remember how much, but I sure hope he sued the crap out of him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, my God. All right, so let's get back now. I got these two stories. So let's see what the alternative media says. And then we're going to take a look at... I had another story. Oh, I got two alternative media stories. This one, though, I don't know. Big Pharma marijuana drug fails clinical studies. Let's see. So if it failed clinical studies, then how are they rolling this out in, like, 27 different countries? And we read that on Friday. Sativex, it was just, they're trying to get FDA approval here, but they had already had it in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's failing the clinical studies, how is it already available in 27 countries?
I know, huh?
It's pretty crazy. All right, so let me read this. With marijuana legalization on the horizon, I actually can read in straight lines now. I couldn't about 10 minutes ago, so thank you, video. I needed a couple more sips of coffee. With marijuana legalization on the horizon, many pharmaceutical companies are looking to take the natural herb and turn it into one of their concoctions. Ironically, for the British pharmaceutical company GW Pharmaceuticals, their attempt to add a marijuana drug has failed miserably in clinical trials, causing their stock to tumble at least by 21% this past week. Oh! So maybe they were doing clinical trials for the FDA to get approval here? Let's find out. The drug called Sativex was being designed as a pain relief medication. However, recent trials discovered that it showed little or no difference than a placebo when tested on patients. Although we missed the primary endpoint in this trial, quote, based upon the positive data seen in the phase 2 program, we remain confident in the ability for Sativex to relieve cancer pain in this patient population, unquote, says GW Chief Executive Justin Grover. Sativex is currently on the market already in 27 different countries, but not as a pain reliever, but as an under-the-tongue spray to treat multiple sclerosis. Marijuana has a number of beneficial medical uses. However, it is very different from the conventional mainstream medicine, so pharmaceutical companies may have a difficult time attempting to package this natural herb in the same way they do other products. However, GW Pharmaceuticals does seem to be a bit more honest and positive than some of the competing corporations in the industry, but many marijuana advocates are still wary of pharmaceutical companies moving in their favorite herb. And like we said, I would be telling you, there is nothing good, I don't think, that's going to come out of this. Like we've seen, once they come in and start trying to patent, and remember we read on Friday, they literally put a patent on unmodified marijuana.
Yeah, I still don't understand that.
Their patent was on being able to measure the CBD quantity. Mm-hmm. I don't even know how they were measuring it, milligrams or whatever.
I think so.
But they wanted to standardize on labeling so you could look at strength. But they were allowing them still to patent just a natural plant, which like we had said, I didn't think that was allowed.
Yeah, we had a big discussion on that Saturday up north, and none of us could see how they could do that, because you cannot, that's like patenting a tree.
I was just going to say that, hey, I patent the tree.
Right.
We could all call something we're going to patent. Yeah, that doesn't seem right to me at all. There actually is. Oh, look, there's a video here, and it is the president of the pharmaceutical company talking.
Ooh.
Yeah, actually, this will be good. In the video below, GW Pharmaceutical CEO Justin Glover discusses his company's history of. Oh, so this might give us some insight. His company's history of making cannabinoid medications, and he is on a program called Taking Stock on Bloomberg TV. So you ready? Actually, this will be good. I want to hear what this guy has to say.
Yeah.
I want to hear what their history is and how they seem to think that they can put a patent on a plant. Mm-hmm. I want someone to give me that answer. All right, here we go. So this is Justin Glover. I called him Glover. It's Glover. Glover. And this is the CEO. All right. Oh, wait. I got to connect, though. There we go. Psst. All right. Here we go, Mr. Glover. Again, maybe.
So first, give you congratulations, because I know that the stock has already been trading in London. It's already a public company. Give us a little background about GW Pharmaceuticals. It's called GW because of Jeffrey Guy, right? Jeffrey Guy and Brian Whittle. They were two physicians that started this company. What is different about this kind of pharmaceutical company?
Right, so GW Pharmaceuticals is about 14 years old, and it was started in 1998, 1999. As in the UK, we were undergoing a debate about how to take care of patients who may benefit from the medicinal properties of molecules that sit within the cannabis plant. So the starting position for our research was that the legalization of cannabis or marijuana for medical use was not the right way to go about things, and that what we should be doing in the modern era is producing prescription drugs which meet the standards of FDA and other regulatory agencies around the world. So that was our mission as we set out in 1998-99, and as we come here today into the US market, we've been successful in getting our drug Sativex approved in 21 countries so far, and we look forward, we hope in due course, to bringing the drug into the United States.
What is side effects? Because I know that you brought not a sample, but you brought something that shows a little bit about how it would be used.
Sure, I thought I'd bring a placebo example for you. So Sativex, as you can see here, is a spray.
Right.
The active ingredients are sprayed into the mouth. They're absorbed under the tongue or through the lining of the
sublingual,
cheek. Yeah. And patients spray sufficient amounts of the dose over during the course of the day, some in the morning and some in the evening. And the principal use of this product is twofold. The first is to treat pain in people who have cancer, and particularly those who are not responding adequately to morphine and other drugs along the opioid line. And the second use is as a treatment for people with multiple sclerosis who have a symptom called spasticity, which is stiffness and spasm, which is a very common disabling condition of multiple sclerosis. So we're developing this drug in these two different therapeutic areas.
Give us a little insight into how you navigated the regulatory environment in the United Kingdom.
Well, the process was extremely standard. Our challenge here was to ensure that what we were doing was entirely uniform with respect to what they expect to see with regard to any prescription drug. Just because it comes from a plant source and just because it comes from an interesting plant source at that, didn't provide any exceptions to the norm. So we've had to show over a decade of research that we're able to produce a standard product to international regulatory standards through a controlled manufacturing facility, that we've tested it extensively through clinical trials. We know the safety data of the product. We know in which patient population it works. And all that data comes together to allow the drug to be approved. So the process in the UK and the rest of Europe, and where the drug is available, is very similar to that which we're following here in the United States.
All right, I'm going to stop here for a second. I went and got some coffee because I was already almost done with cup one. Again, it's Monday. You there, Zorie?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So what did I miss? It sounded to me like they went through all the regulatory processes. I wonder who beta tested it for 10 years.
But, he's talking about, it's not really pot as grows out of the ground. It's synthetic. That's what I got out of it.
Well, that's what I thought originally. I thought this was kind of synthetic, but when we read the patent on Friday, it didn't say anything like that. It basically said it was the plant out of the ground,
Right, but he's saying a chemical, that the pharmaceutical production of it. He didn't really say it was marijuana at all. I didn't catch anything like that. I just still think it's synthetic.
Should we hear the rest of this?
Yeah, let's hear the rest.
All right, let me put it on.
And it's also, is it correct to say that, one of the hallmarks of drug discovery is that you use natural ingredients, whether that could be quinine, originally quinine for dealing with malaria, or coca leaves for producing certain types of anesthetics that would be used in, for example, morphine.
Right, so there are many medicines in the modern era that have their origins in plant sources. What we've done over the modern era, rightly, is ensure that those medicines can be translated into a regulatory system which provides protections for patients. Patients know that the drug they're getting every day is the same, manufactured to high standards.
So you've got consistency.
Consistency, you've got high quality manufacturing. You know exactly what you're getting. You know what doses you need to take. You have instructions from your physician. You know the side effects, and you know how to expect
So there's some accountability.
Right. And that has allowed us over the last 50 years to produce medicines which conform to those kind of practices. In our view, that's exactly what is required for medicines that are derived from cannabis that have molecules in them called cannabinoids. So we're interested in doing exactly the same thing, conforming to all the normal legal and regulatory standards, but creating a very specific product with a specific composition which can meet the very rigorous standards that FDA provided and laid down.
Now, we started the segment by talking about how your shares are now being listed on the NASDAQ. As I said, they were already being traded in London, GWPHV. What's next in the United States besides the listing? How do you get your prescription drug into the hands of doctors?
So the FDA approval process requires extensive and lengthy clinical trials. this product is currently in phase 3 trials, which is the final stage of clinical testing here in the United States. Those trials are recruiting patients in the US and other parts of the world right now, and they're expected to complete next year. Our plan is, subsequent to the results of those studies, that we will file a regulatory submission to the FDA in order to obtain approval for the product and allow it to be made available as a prescription drug in the United States.
What's the addressable market for this kind of drug?
Well, certainly in the field of cancer, regrettably, of course, it's a common and increasingly common condition. People with pain who have cancer experience pain, and particularly towards the end of people's lives, pain becomes increasingly an issue for them, and they take drugs such as morphine and other opioids. For a reasonable proportion of those patients, they're either unable to tolerate those drugs or don't obtain adequate efficacy. So there's around 400,000 people in the United States who would potentially benefit from this medicine in that they have cancer pain which is not being adequately treated today. So that's the sort of patient population that we would be hoping to treat in due course.
So I'm still questioning the story that said that it failed. The story claimed that it failed clinical studies. I didn't see any source to that. I didn't see any link to that. I just saw this embedded video which says that it's going through clinical studies and it's being used for pain management.
Yeah, it's really kind of, I didn't quite understand a lot of what he was saying because, okay, so he said it was from the plant. I did hear that.
Right, I heard him.
Started it again. But, and the fact, so it seems like they patented the consistency of it, not the actual plant. Is that what he was saying?
That's what we saw yesterday too. They allowed them, because we were looking at it, they allowed them to patent the plant, but what they patented was being able to measure the CBD content.
Right. So it was a process that they patented.
Right. That's what it seems like to me. But maybe it was the process from start to finish of how to grow it, how to get the strain to have a certain amount of CBD in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So it's the process that they go through that they patented, and not so.
So instead of the plant being patented, it's the process from planting the seed all the way on up that they patented.
Right, so they can guarantee this dosage.
Mm-hmm. And you start with X, whatever brand make. I'm sure each different strain has different qualities. Yeah.
So pot's still illegal, but they're going to make the process of processing something that's against
growing
law.
and processing.
Right.
You.
Right, that's federal law. So they're going to patent a criminal offense to do that because it's still against federal law to grow, smoke, process, carry, everything.
That's true.
What two-faced.
I know. Well, and that's what I was saying in the very beginning. For anyone who... And I'm sure there's probably lots of yuppies out there that are going, this is great. Again, I've seen a lot of my lefty friends. Finally!
Right.
And yeah, finally. But remember, there's no free lunch ever.
Nope.
Ever.
Not with this government, there isn't.
They don't do things benevolently for the people to make you smile. That isn't the way it works.
Time. They buy their time so you're secure and feeling all right, I'm legal.
Well, not only that, I mean, there's always something in it for them. They don't do it out of benevolence. So there's something they want. And I would say some of the clinical trials for whatever they're putting in this shit is something that they want. You as a guinea pig, remember, is the removal of an R&D line item on their budget, which makes the shareholders happy.
There you go.
And R&D is a huge number. That is a huge number, especially for a pharmaceutical company. You know, anyone trying to come up with new products. And then when it includes human trials, remember, phase 1 human trials are very difficult to get.
Yeah.
Especially for some of the newer type technologies like that RNAi garbage that we've looked at. And we're going to look at that, actually. Those phase 1 clinical trials now, they've been done in 4 or 5 different countries. They were done here in the UK. They did a couple tests in Africa for some of these new Ebola vaccinations. They've ruled that they're safe, so now it's going on to phase 2 clinical trial in Africa again now for large numbers of people. I played some clips yesterday that I'd cut into... I don't know if anyone heard the Truth or Talk episode yesterday. It was awesome. It was all about vaccines, and it was the confession of an economic hit woman, but it was confession of an RX drug pusher was the woman's book. She'd been in the pharmaceutical industry for 15 years and got a conscience. She had a close call herself, and her niece, I believe it was, had been put on some medication that almost killed her. And, you know, it was like a double whammy that woke her up. And she started speaking out about the way they psychologically profile the doctors, how they're taught to, you know, I mean, I have friends that were super high-end salespeople. I mean, they all drove really nice cars, like brand new Cobras, convertible. Yeah. Oh, my God. My one friend, I mean, he used to get a new car every year, but the one year... he had the brand new Mustang Cobra convertible with the natural leather seats. Oh, you know what? He was a single dude. He did his thing. They make some good money if you're a good salesperson.
He had no conscience.
Well, that wasn't even in pharmaceuticals. That was just in my stuff that I did in networking. But in pharmaceuticals, remember, I mentioned the 19-year-old son of one of my coworkers back 10, 12 years ago. He made a killing. And they taught them everything. Well, this woman was talking about how they taught them to sell to the different personality types, whether or not, you know, you're a scientific person or if you're someone who likes to be in control or, you know, and they gave them ways to get their foot in the door, and their end goal was to convince the doctor that he wanted to buy from them. And I mean, a lot of times it was favoritism and gifts and whatever. And that's what I've been saying all along. And especially now with Obamacare being designated not as a health care plan, all that stuff is legal again. That used to be illegal. If they caught you bribing doctors to push your product, that was a huge offense. And there was just a 30... well, look, we'll have to go over to the before the first cut page in a few minutes, but I thought it was like a $39 million lawsuit that was just settled between a Japanese pharmaceutical company and wrongdoing in the United States for doing exactly that, for bribing doctors to sell their shit.
Right. Well, they've always, like, you know, got really well-known doctors to get up and in conventions and stuff and convince doctors this is what to do.
Well, a lot of that, too, is the doctors. They're like paid endorsements when they go to those conventions.
Yep.
You know, they'll convince a doctor to come speak at their convention, and they'll kick them back extra money. You know, we'll give you $25,000 to come speak at our event. You just talk about how great our product is. And do you know what? Talk about conflict of interest.
No kidding.
Don't think that doctor, you know, is sitting there going, oh, well, Zorie, let's see. The best medication for the treatment of your problem is... his first thought isn't necessarily what the best medication is.
No, money.
His first thought is, who's inking the check?
Yep.
Yeah, that's disgusting. All right, I want to read. I got one more story here. This is about pharmaceutical strength for cancer treatment of marijuana. Again, it's about this cannabinoid. It's a really long story, so I don't feel like reading all this today, but I'm going to read the conclusion here. CBD spells bad news for the pharmaceutical industry because when combined with other strong medicinals like magnesium, sodium bicarbonate, iodine, and selenium, they offer an alternative approach to cancer treatment that is safe and effective. CBD is an all-purpose general medicine which has anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety, anti-epileptic, sedative, and neuroprotective actions. It is also a potent antioxidant protecting against chemical damage due to oxidation. Studies have suggested that CBD protects against development of diabetes, certain kinds of cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, brain and nerve damage due to stroke, alcoholism, nausea, inflammatory bowel disease, and Huntington disease. Medicine just does not get any better. And then we just have recommendations from people. Dr. Esther Friede strongly recommends the use of cannabinoids in pediatric medicine. She notes that, quote, excellent clinical trials, unquote, have been reported in pediatric oncology and in case studies of children with severe neurological diseases or brain traumas, and suggests that cannabis-derived medicines could also play a role in the treatment of childhood syndromes, including pain and gastrointestinal inflammation associated with cystic fibrosis. You know, I still don't know, though, where that story, and that's why I had called bullshit on it before I even read it, and I wanted to check it out more because this was the only story that I've seen anywhere that says that it has failed clinical trials.
Now, look, how insane is it for a medicine that has been proven to do all the good that you just read be illegal?
I know, at a federal level.
Right. It's just like, even a lot of states still, it's still, you get caught, you go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
So how can anyone with any kind of brain mentality at all think this should be a Schedule 1 drug? It just totally amazing.
Well, right. They still haven't figured out how to make bank on it yet. That's why.
That's why. Yeah.
You know, they're trying to figure out how to profit the best way in their next evil plan, rubbing hands together.
And they brainwashed everyone all the older people to such extreme that no matter what you tell them, they're going to believe marijuana still kills.
Well, yeah, like reefer madness.
Yep. Yeah, so.
Here, I'm going to read a little bit more.
Okay.
This is this greenmed.info, which I love this website. This is the site that has all the clinical studies on the curcumin, the turmeric.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 1,100 scientific papers out here on it. I like this site a lot. All right, I guess I might as well read a little bit of this because I didn't like that other story. So I don't know about the clinical trials. There was no evidence to me in that other story that it failed anything.
Right.
So I don't know. You know, I guess we'll have to dig more. And I'm sure over the next few weeks and months, there's going to be a lot more coming out about this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is pharmaceutical strength marijuana, the future of cancer treatment. Oh, wait. I'm like, page 2. Yeah, there was a page 2. I want to go back to page 1. Bing! Hello! All right. Here we go. Well, I don't know if I probably should have stayed on page 2. I just don't know. I mean, this goes through like all the things that CBDs can do. And I mean, it's paragraph after paragraph after paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. And there's so many things. And if you really want to know, just go to the web and search, what do CBDs cure? I'm sure that you could find an extensive list. Here, so I'm going to start here on page 2. Dr. Antonello Bonci of the NIDA is quoted in Time magazine, is extremely excited and says that studies of Alzheimer's disease and psychosis have found many therapeutic uses for CBDs. It's extremely exciting. CBD turns the debate about illicit drugs as medicine on its head. Medical marijuana that does not get the user high. Now, one of the things also that we discovered on Friday is that they said that Sativex got you high. Remember that? Are you there? Maybe not. All right.
Yeah, I'm back.
I remember.
I'm sorry. I had to go get some water. I was choking.
Oh, okay. I hope you're better.
Yeah, I am.
on Friday we had read that Sativex actually has a high associated with them.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time you don't with CBDs. Do you remember that?
Right. If you juice it, you don't get high. It's only when you put heat to it that it gives the psychotropic.
Well, when you have the what's it called? It's in the syringe. The oil.
The oil
doesn't get you high.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. In fact, it makes you, you take the dose and it's like you take it at bedtime because you sleep. But yeah, it does get you high. Yeah, the oil does. Yeah, ask JJ.
Maybe it gets you high. I don't know. I didn't take it that way. I didn't see any of that. But CBD turns the debate about illicit drugs on its head as medical marijuana that does not get the user high. One woman with Parkinson's disease. So, I mean, it says here specifically it doesn't get you high. I was surprised that the Sativex said that it did. We read that on Friday. One woman with Parkinson's disease who Dr. Michael Calton treats told him she ingests an oral marijuana candy, which they do have those at, what do they call them? The place where you buy it. Dispensary. Yes. A medicine that does not make her intoxicated in order to calm her tremors enough so she could sleep. She doesn't want to get high, said Dr. Kelton. She just wants to sleep. Researchers at the California Pacific Medicine Center Research Institute combine the non-psychoactive cannabinoid compounds, the CBDs, with THC, the primary psychoactive ingredients in cannabis. They found the combination boosts the inhibitory effects on glioblastoma, the most common and aggressive form of brain tumor, and that's what we were talking about. And that was also the one that killed Senator Ted Kennedy. I did not know that.
Oh, I didn't either.
Now this is interesting. Real Scientific Hemp Oil, an associated company with Dixie Botanicals, just came out with a 2-month supply of highly concentrated CBD, which is legal medical marijuana. Each batch of CBD-rich oil is tested for potency and is marked and sold in concentrations of 10 to 25%. A certificate of analysis is included with every purchase. So this is from a place called Real Scientific Hemp Oil by Dixie Botanicals. So this is not this GW Pharmaceutical, which even the name just scares me. Someone said in chat on Friday, it makes them think of George Bush.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, every time I hear GW, that's what I think.
Yeah.
And anything with GW and pharmaceutical in the name just makes my hair stand up.
Like, take it away from me.
Yeah. And then, throw the name Sativex, and it sounds like some... genetically modified garbage, and I don't know. To me, it's not all warm and fuzzy. But we should look at this Dixie Botanical. I thought aren't they an alternative radio advertiser? I thought I heard one of the radio networks having them on.
It sounds familiar.
And we'll have to check that out later. They even, here, you know what? There's a link here. If I copy it and drop it in chat, maybe somebody can go out there and take a look. There we go. Yeah. All right. So this Dixie Botanicals, they better be careful they don't get slapped with copyright infringement. Did you hear that? Because they already figured out a way to measure CBDs and package it appropriately. The 1 gram a day dosage of sublingual CBD in this new formula is at 5 times the concentration that is necessary to throw cancer on its back. People have rightfully complained about how low concentrations of other products. People have rightfully complained about the low concentrations of other products because high doses are necessary for the full pharmaceutical effect. Their cost on the site is $3,600.
Whoa!
After an introductory instant rebate for a 2-month supply of the highest concentrated CBD on the planet. Wow, that's a lot. But I guess 2 months, divided by 60, let's see, that makes 360 divided by 6, which is what, $60 a day?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you had cancer, $60 a day for a 2-month treatment. But my understanding is, too, you got to stay on it then, right?
Yes. Well, no, not after you're cured. I don't think you do.
I thought you had to stay on maintenance from everything that I read.
I'm trying to remember Run from the Cure, just what... I don't remember if he said anything about staying on it or not. Well, you know what? I know juicing it like that one girl does, she has to stay on it to sustain her health once she got healthy.
I just know that we've had programs on here that's all they focused on, and I listened to all of them, and that was one of the things that they talked about is how you have to stay on a maintenance dose.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know, though, if it depends on the cancer or if it's across the board. You know, I mean, I haven't dug into, but... So, yeah, I mean, $60 a day, I guess, doesn't sound like a lot, but if it's ad nauseum forever, at $60 a day, I could see how that could become very difficult, and you might want to move yourself to a state where
grow your own.
It's legal to grow, right?
Yeah.
Another exciting product for California residents. You know, this is something else I wanted to know. Didn't you say they closed most of the dispensaries now?
Almost all of them. We have one up here when we used to have 6. And down in L.A. and there was one on every corner. Now you can't find them.
Yeah, so what's that all about? Because I remember a friend of mine that lived in L.A. back a few years ago, and they had the delivery guy. That he had his medical card, and the delivery guy used to show up. And then his delivery guy got robbed. Or no, actually, I remember I sent him the story. It was the other way around. There was a story about a delivery guy getting robbed by a ninja. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember. Well, they did no more delivery to your house either.
Now, what about in Washington? I know we run a show here where the host is out of Washington, he's out of Seattle, and he runs an ad for home delivery for medical up there, too. I mean, I don't really know any of the laws in Washington.
Then, see, that's a recreational, they made recreational legal. California recreational isn't legal still. Only medical.
Just Colorado and Washington.
Oregon.
For recreational.
I think Oregon just passed, yeah, they did.
For recreational?
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was just medical.
I have to look into that. I don't.
Yeah, I don't think Oregon was for recreational. Though, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'd be seeing videos on it, and I haven't. I haven't. That would have been
medical then.
That would have been a big deal if it was recreational. But here's the thing. So, yeah, they used to have home delivery. Now, I thought I saw Joe in chat. Good morning if you're out there, Mr. Joe Friday. I thought I saw Joe in chat the other day also say that they've just about closed them all up in Michigan as well, the dispensaries.
See, that's the thing I say. Look at your history. They make it, okay, they make all these rules, and then everybody, goes by them. Then they come in, and they raided them all. And they took all the product and destroyed, like, the glass shelving and all that. Destroyed the building, took all the product, and put them out of business. And very seldom did they arrest anybody.
Well, right. I mean, they did civil forfeiture under that and took everything, and that just doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, somebody said Oregon is recreational, so that's what's up. I haven't seen any big news on that. I would have thought
happened this last vote.
Right, in November, right? But I thought that would have made big news, and it didn't really.
Well, every place, I mean, a lot of states are going, recreational. And it's funny because Oregon, before that, didn't even have medical. But they went straight for...
No, the person in chat says Oregon is recreational. It already was medical.
Oh, okay. I didn't think it was, but yeah.
Well, see, I think a lot of places have medical, but recreational, the only two that I was aware of was Colorado and Washington. So maybe
well, I heard Oregon did. Yeah.
And then we had Washington, Washington, D.C.
D.C., I know.
But they're flipping that. They're flipping that. They're not allowing it because it's within, first of all, D.C.'s not even a state. But here's my thing. Like, they should have never even allowed it on the ballot then for residents to vote on it if it was such a big freaking deal. And then they let residents vote and approve it and then go, we're just kidding.
That proves your vote counts.
Yeah. Proves your vote counts after you voted in and then they overturn it.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I don't know. Anybody in a state up there that up in the Pacific Northwest wants to call in, I will untransfer the phones. That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, from what we've seen historically, I still think that there's going to be future issue with the feds. I think that this literally is a setup. I mean, like I said, we have the police state rolling in down every suburban road, and yet they're sitting there dangling this carrot in front of us going, looky, you guys have been fighting for 40 years to, get this plant legalized, and now we're going to do it for you. But shh, because we have plans.
As long as the only way to make them on the up and up, in my view, would be take it off the scheduled drugs. Then I will believe them. But as long as they keep that as Schedule 1, the feds are always, whenever they get a hair up the butt, or if they want you for some reason, they're coming for you.
Well, right. And it's an easy excuse, and it becomes a felony, and it's a federal crime. And they get to take everything.
The bigger your dispensary, the more they profit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And remember, you got all these big boys now invested in the pharmaceutical industry. And remember who invests in Wall Street, people? Oh, Congress.
Mm-hmm.
More than half who are now millionaires, okay?
One other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Here, you cannot deposit the money from the dispensaries in the bank.
Exactly.
Right, so there's always a lot of cash.
Exactly, cash that can just go into a black hole somewhere and no one has any accountability.
Yep.
I had read a couple of articles about how they were going to electronic mediums of exchange. Bitcoin was one, but there was some, I thought maybe Drew and Chuck had talked about it, there was some cryptocurrency that specifically was being used in the medical marijuana circles that I thought was interesting.
I heard that too, but I don't know what it is.
But you know what? That cryptocurrency still scares me. I mean, with all the hacking and our cyber patrols and whatever, all it would take was one little poof. And I'm still not completely convinced. They're like, this is so, against the system. Well, when we look back in the very beginning into where some of this cryptography came from, DARPA had a hand in a lot of this stuff from the very beginning. And we found out that there was no encryption anywhere at any time that was government proof.
That's
we
true.
thought all this time that 128-bit, back in the day, was going to protect us. The feds could uncrack it.
Well, how did they get all that? One guy, in fact, they're out there putting it on the market, all the Bitcoins that they took in when they busted that guy, site.
I know. And remember, they got unlimited budgets, and they got all these snakes that came to work for them who don't have a human conscience, okay, that are going to help them, crack the nut on all this stuff so there is no secrecy left anywhere and that you have no privacy left anywhere. They'll be able to manufacture anything on anybody. They can duplicate voice prints. That's what scares me is that as they're collecting this evidence in these dragnets by taking every digital footprint that you've ever put out there, that can all be manufactured now. I mean, that is literally a Total Recall type movie. You know what I mean? Or what was the one with Tom Cruise that was super futuristic with the thought crime stuff?
Yeah, thought crime.
I mean, they can do all that now. They can literally make your voice. And I was just hearing somebody about
Loose Change, they did that. They showed how they did
with the plane on 9/11?
Yeah.
I just heard somebody, I think it was Hal, It was Hal. Oh my God, Hal! I'm so sorry. It's Monday morning. Hal Anthony talking about Jitsi, the alternative to Skype that is encrypted versus Skype, and when it was purchased by Microsoft, and what a bunch of bullshit it was, because it wasn't worth that much money, and the only reason they bought it is to be able to get everyone's conversations. And I said that in the very beginning when it was sold, and it was some exorbitant amount of money, and it was a Belgian company. So the NSA did not have any legal rights to be able to step into Belgium and start stealing data. But once it got purchased by
Microsoft.
Well, a company that bends over backwards with their cheeks spread wide for the federal government out of the United States. Absolutely. Then they had everything they wanted. Microsoft had more of the golden keys, and hey, they got their cyber patrol center.
Yeah.
That's what it was all about. But yeah, that really scares me because they will be able, and audio editing isn't that hard. I mean, I do it every week, and I can take somebody's interview, and especially if I have multiple shows, which I mean, some people I have 2 years of shows for. I could probably just about find you saying any word out of 120 shows over 2 years at an hour and a piece. And, you got to work at it to find the right inflection and whatever, but I can zoom right in and clip out exact words and cut them all together. Mm-hmm. And that's just by hand. That's not adding a supercomputer to the mix or malevolence,
Right.
So, yeah, it's a scary thing. I wish I had a way to, make my voice unrecordable or something.
I know, huh? You think about that going, ugh.
You could have it do, some sort of modulation, so it's constantly modulating, so they couldn't lock on. I don't know.
They do that with Anonymous a lot.
Yeah, well, that might have to be my birthday gift to myself.
There you go.
A voice changer.
Yeah, there you go. And you sound like all you robot Jules.
Yeah, we'll be doing the Cylon episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was one more little section here about California, and then we'll move on because actually I got a couple more stories I wanted to talk about in regards to the pharmaceutical industry. So hey, do me a favor, guys. If anyone finds another story about that Sativex not passing clinical trials, not this one, there's just one. And it's out of True Activist. And like I said, there's no links to anything. And there was a video embedded, which is nice because I like embedding videos, except that it didn't say that anywhere in there at all. So I have no idea where that news came from. And I have not seen anywhere else that it failed a clinical study. So
I haven't either.
And I mean, the fact, like I said, that it's already approved in 27 countries says that they passed something, I would imagine. Now, the one thing was that they said that they were using it as multiple sclerosis drug in those other countries. And I thought on Friday we also read that they were using it for epilepsy, childhood epilepsy. And now they're looking to use it for pain management. So maybe that's where there hasn't been any clinical studies completed. But I haven't seen any evidence of that. And I like at least one reference link that has some credibility in my eyes, and I have not seen it in that story. So if anyone finds evidence for that story to support it, let me know. All right, so anyway, another exciting product for California residents is the exceptionally pure extract marijuana oil with extremely high levels of THC, which will get the patient high as a kite, whereas CBD will not. So there you go. Here's one that does get you high. It is also in 1 gram doses, $60 a day. Hey, I did the math in my head right.
Very good.
Yes, Monday morning with only a cup of coffee in my head. But people should not expect to function well under the influence. Well, gee, that's not rocket science. The CBD-rich oil is best absorbed through sublingual application and provides the highest available CBD content without a psychotropic effect, meaning that there is less than 1% THC. When taken sublingually, the CBD is absorbed via the oral mucosa. The oral mucosa contains small microcapillaries that allow the CBD to be absorbed directly into the bloodstream. Absorption directly into the bloodstream allows for the almost immediate effect and bypasses the first pass liver metabolism, allowing for full strength of the CBD to be experienced. Well, that's why you squirt silver under your tongue as well.
Right.
As the remaining CBD-rich oil is swallowed, it enters the digestive system and is directed to the liver by the hepatic portal system. The liver will then metabolize the remaining CBD, which then later enters the bloodstream to provide a delayed but longer lasting effect. So it's like they have a 1-2 punch for taking it. Is that what they're saying here?
Seems like it, yeah.
So you do half under the tongue and the rest you swallow.
Right.
The secondary longer lasting effect from the RSHO provides pain relief for several hours, and there have been stories of patients suffering from Parkinson's disease whose tremors ceased. Actually, I read a story about that after several hours of taking RSHO. There was also a case with a guy who had Tourette syndrome, or one of those disorders where it was absolutely uncontrollable. And when he would take the CBDs, it would allow him to calm down and get his brain to a level where actually he could grab control of things again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just seen an article where they might send this woman to prison for giving her daughter the same thing, and for pain. So.
For pain for what?
I don't remember what I can look it up, but I seen it this morning, and let's see.
I know there have been a lot of parents that have been using the oil for treatments of childhood cancers. I mean, we've seen a lot of stories over the last few years on that.
Yeah, I'll find that. But anyway, yeah, because she went that route for her daughter. And if I can get this to come up, because it was right on the front page, it was on the headlines, and I think this is it now. No, it's not. I looked at 4 sites this morning, and this isn't it. Dang it. Okay. Let's see. One more.
Should I sing?
Yeah, why don't you sing for a second?
I don't even have a song in my head.
Oh, come on, you can come up with something. Come on, roll with it. Oh, man, come on. Don't tell me they moved it since 5 a.m.
That's possible.
Yeah. Dang.
Hey, by the way...
here it is. I found it. Okay. It's in Minnesota. Mom faces up to 2 years in prison for saving son's life with cannabis oil. And this was posted January 9th. A mother has been criminally charged for the efforts she took to save her son's life with cannabis oil and could spend up to 2 years in prison if convicted. In 2011, 11-year-old Trey Brown suffered a traumatic brain injury. Trey was struck in the skull with a baseball and put into a coma due to bleeding of the brain.
Oh my God.
When he finally awoke, he was a shell of himself and suffered from chronic pain, seizures, learning disabilities, and suicidal thoughts. I cry like every day before I go to bed. Trey, now 15 years old, like my brain is about to blow up because there is so much pressure. Trey's mother, 38-year-old Angela Brown, searched for ways to alleviate her son's agony. He was put on 18 different pharmaceutical drugs.
Of course he was.
Yeah, but the problem persisted, and the side effects made him even more suicidal. He told his mother that he didn't want to live anymore. Mrs. Brown saw one final option, cannabis oil. Recently approved for medical use in a number of states, the oil has shown remarkable results in patients with pain and seizures. A doctor recommended the family seek the treatment in Colorado. So in March 2014, the family took a trip to Boulder, Colorado to obtain a bottle of cannabis oil legally from one of the state's medical marijuana dispensaries. The results were incredible. Trey's pain subsided and the migraines went away. The muscle spasms stopped too. Trey was finally able to do better in school. It was a miracle in a bottle, his mother said. Now, wouldn't you know they'd have to mess that up? Nothing could be good anymore.
Right, and especially if after all the trials and tribulations, you find, I mean, as a parent, that's something, you know, if you've never had kids and you've only had pets, and my friends used to tell me this before I had a kid, but you'd never understand. You'd do anything to make your kid safe and feel better, and you know what I mean? I mean, you do anything because that kid is, I mean, that's your job, is to take care of that child. And I mean, I couldn't even imagine being in that position. And I would go to any lengths to try to save my kid.
To watch your child suffer? I can't even stand to watch my animals suffer, but my child?
Well, anybody's animals suffer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so then it goes, Trey continued taking the oil for about a month. The family's good fortune was soon stamped out by oppressive forces in their home state. Trey's school became inquisitive about how the teen had shown so much improvement at school. Now, you would think they would be glad that he was showing up. Yep.
And you'd think that they would use him
as an example.
I'm not saying use him as a guinea pig, but exactly. Use him as a study to say, hey, what did you do? I mean, he wasn't even able to participate, and look at how great he's doing.
Right, and so you get punished.
And work with the doctor and start finding, you know, I mean, he would be example number 1, clinical trial. Let's find out if we can use this for the benefit of others.
No, let's take it away from him, put his mother in prison, and put him back
and put him in CPS. Isn't that what's going to happen if his mom ends up in jail, and it's probably going to be some federal crime?
Yep. Okay, so it goes on. Mrs. Brown, who describes herself as an open book, eagerly told his teachers about the successful treatment. Mistake number 1.
Careful.
I said, well, I gave him an oil that we'd gotten from Colorado, Angela recalled to CBS. It's derived from a marijuana plant, and then you could feel the tension in the room. School administrators wasted no time in reporting Mrs. Brown to law enforcement. She had technically broken the law by returning to Minnesota with the forbidden oil. The Chippewa County Sheriff's Department arrested Angela Brown, and she was charged with 2 gross misdemeanors, including child endangerment due to substance possession and criminal jurisdiction, which contributes to the need for the Child Protective Services, CPS.
Didn't I say it? Yeah. Now, the good news is they weren't felonies. They were misdemeanors. So that's good. But was that because it's at a state level and not a federal level? I don't know. Unless in Minnesota, marijuana is misdemeanor. I don't know what the laws are there.
Yeah, I don't know either. There's a clip here if you want to play it.
Yeah, if you got it. Drop it to me personally,
I know, I'm looking for that one, and it starts with a J. I'm as bad as you here.
In the morning, well, you know, the thing is in Skype, most people don't necessarily use their real name. They all have Skype names, and I just, on some versions of Skype, it shows up as their screen name, and in some version of Skype, it shows up as their Skype name. So I never remember who is what, and then it's hard for me. I'm like, what do they call themselves?
Okay, now, why didn't that paste? Okay.
Right click.
Right click, paste. Oh, wait, okay, let me try it again. I don't know, I know how to do this. I've done it before. Okay, copy. And there's Jules. Okay, and paste. There it goes. Okay. And enter. If I can find my keyboard.
There it is. Yay!
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Police State USA. I love these guys.
I do
Actually,
too.
they've slowed down a lot for a while, but it looks like they're back again. I'm starting to see regular stories again.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
for a while they weren't posting anything.
Yeah, if you guys have never seen this, it's just policestateusa.com. They also have a great YouTube channel. For a long time I have a playlist on UCY's YouTube homepage that had a police state. There's a police state playlist, and I just about every article they posted had some killer video in it, and I used to thumbs up them so then they'd end up in our playlist. But
You usually see them there before you see them on RT or anywhere else, too.
yeah. They get them first. Though sometimes we've had a couple of the Pigmine videos that have been posted on Police State too.
Mm-hmm.
But everything goes viral out there. They must have some good viewership. So I'm glad to see them back. All right, here, let me reconnect us.
Okay.
And
and the last little sentence before you play it. Trey's oil was confiscated and his treatment ceased. The agonizing pain, swelling, and muscle spasms returned. School was really hard again, he said.
So go Minnesota School District.
Yeah.
All right.
Let that kid suffer.
Yeah, and put his mother behind bars, the criminal. All right, here we go. Could result for her up to...
I broke the law, but I
Hold on.
didn't.
Could result for her up to 2 years in prison and a $6,000 fine, and her children can be taken away. That's what it says at the bottom. I don't know if you saw that. All right, I'm going to play
Yeah,
this.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
To save my son. He's just a shell of himself, but he's in so much pain.
I cry like every day. Like my brain is like about to blow up.
This is not fair. It's not fair. I have been so angry. I begged him. I said, we will find an answer. Oh, God, yeah. It was a miracle in a bottle.
It stopped the pain and it stopped the muscle spasms.
Who would take care of my kids? My boys are Mama's boys. I need them. I need them.
Well, you know what? She needs to move to Colorado, but I guess now that there's charges against her, she can't just up and move.
I know. That's so tragic. And how
Who could feel good about doing that to somebody?
and what
What teacher or administrator would feel like they got the criminals off the street for doing that? I mean, that's disgusting.
what I mean by the brainwashing of marijuana is bad. Immediately you hear the word marijuana, this is a bad person in front of you. No matter what good they're doing. No matter how much that kid is relieved of all pain, he's doing good. Let's stop it now before it gets any worse.
You know, here's the thing. The fact that Sanjay Gupta came out and said that he was incorrect in all of his former belief about cannabis. I mean, though I laughed and pointed at it like, oh, here it comes, because now they're trying to, like, take this whole paradigm and change it, right? And the reason why they want to change it is because they see profit to be made, right?
Right.
But, you know, the one thing that I thought Gupta was going to do is convince the brainwashed masses to now be brainwashed the other direction.
No, they've been too well brainwashed. It's unreversible, I think.
Maybe.
But to watch a kid, and listen to him, he says the pain's back, the swelling's back, and he's in agonizing pain. So those people should feel real good, huh?
Yeah, they should feel great about what they did. Well, that'll be an interesting story to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm. I don't see how they can send her to prison. I mean, they've already, they haven't taken her kids from her yet, I guess, but they're saying they can.
Well, that's what the report said.
Yeah. Oh, there's a follow-up. It says the Brown family is now embroiled in legal problems and preparing to defend Angela's actions in court. Supporters have shown up to court hearings, but the district attorney refused to drop the charges, of course. This simply is not a situation where someone has endangered their child. How does making your child feel better endangering them?
I don't know, but do you think if Ventura were still governor that this would be happening?
No, it would not be happening. I can guarantee it.
I don't know.
Yeah, and then it said attorney Michael Hughes, who filed a motion to dismiss on behalf of Mrs. Brown. The judge reportedly has 90 days to decide whether to grant the motion. How is endangering your child taking his pain away? Said Angela Brown. If someone answers that for me, fine, charge me. But until someone can explain to me how preventing pain is wrong, then I will continue to plead not guilty.
And here's the thing. I mean, this Sativex is already approved in 27 countries, and one of the things that they said they were using it for was childhood epilepsy. So they're already giving it to children in a pharmaceutical sense.
Right.
So how is that like child abuse or, endangering the welfare of your child if the same technologies, i.e. might be from some different company, but it's still CBDs,
right,
are being given to children as medication? Hey, they give children worse things that your doctor prescribes.
Oh, God, yes.
I wanted to play you. Actually, I had talked about... I mentioned earlier today the Truth or Talk episode that April and Verstein gave me that ran yesterday, and this was all about the confessions of a pharmaceutical hit woman, right? She had been in the pharmaceutical industry for 25 years and then had an epiphany and came out. And so what I did for the breaks, if I have time, I usually do this. I try to find clips that go along with, whatever the show is about, things to support it. And I had done a search, and it ended up on the Old Pigmine 2 channel. There were all kinds of videos that had to do with vaccines and horrible, horrible pharmaceutical stories. And one was about Adderall.
Gary, no. It's awesome with that. If you've never seen him.
No. With what? He's awesome with what?
With the vaccines. I mean, he's been in front of Congress. This man he's driven. And, I mean, you want to find out about vaccines, that man is one to look up.
Well, I wasn't researching vaccines. It was a story on pharmaceuticals. So vaccines were one part of it, but one of the pharmaceuticals was Adderall. And I don't know, Adderall they give to kids with ADHD, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
And I want to play this because this really bothered me. Oh, I found some great clips too, just about there was a good Bill Gates one about this. Is actually here. We're going to play 2 clips because if you think that these companies are on our side or that any of this stuff, and I know that none of you guys do, but if there's anyone listening that doesn't know that, don't think that these companies are looking out for you in your best interest. This is all about profit, and they're not making sure that things are safe. You've become a line item guinea pig. Now, Mr. Billy Gates has put $10 billion with a B into researching vaccines for this decade. You better believe that he's going to want a return on his investment.
Right? Let me finish this one sentence to end this one up. The family has indicated that they plan to move to Colorado to resume Trey's treatment with cannabis oil. Whether Angela will be able to join them remains to be seen. That finishes that one up.
So there you go. That was exactly my suggestion.
Right.
Is flee Minnesota. And I mean, we were even talking last week about forced vaccinations. I think that was Friday's show with the HPV vaccine. I mean, don't fall for it. There are commercials all over about how important it is to protect your children by getting this HPV vaccine, boys and girls. Do your due diligence. Do not believe things because you are told it is so. Because it is not. I'll tell you what, hearing this interview on Sunday with the and I don't remember the woman's name. I'd have to look it up, but she was amazing. This woman said exactly what we've been saying. They twist the truth. They want you to get your kids vaccinated because your kid is a guinea pig, and that's exactly what I've been saying all along. Remember, it's a line item budget, and these are public companies, and R&D are multi-million dollar line items that if they don't have to pay for that now it's just happening that they're doing clinical 1 trials by giving it to your kid and then watching the progress. That saves them all kinds of money and makes them all kinds of more profit on the stock market. Yep. Investors love that.
Uh-huh.
All right, here, 2 little clips here I want to play. This first one here I got to connect. These are ones that I cut in as the last break in April and Verstein's show yesterday. So Bill Gates about his, and actually I got to zoom here because I just needed everything. All right, here we go.
Microsoft founder Bill Gates has committed over $10 billion over the next decade to deliver vaccines to the world's poorest countries. Gates made the pledge while speaking at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, saying that this year needs to be the decade of vaccines. He said the commitment more than doubled the $4.5 billion his charity foundation has already given to vaccine research already.
Sweden being a great example of a generous donor. So at this milestone, we're essentially redoubling our commitment. Over this last decade, we've spent $4.5 billion on vaccine research and delivery. And today we're announcing a commitment over this next decade, which we think of as a decade of vaccines having incredible impact. We're announcing that we'll spend over $10 billion on vaccines.
$10 billion.
Help invent new vaccines. That will help get some new vaccines out. That will help increase the coverage.
So there's important. The foundation believes the donation could save up to 7.6 million children through to 2019.
Hey, what disgusts me so much about that is that then if you put that on the flip side with his, we need to make one of these numbers zero. Yeah. And he had talked about the way to reduce the population. He literally said that was through the use of vaccines.
Well, they say how many kids they say how many they'll save, but they don't say how many they will kill.
They'll lose. And I mean, we read that story back from about a month and a half ago where India, there's a class action lawsuit in India against the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for vaccinating those girls in 2 Indian towns. And I remember how large the number was, but it was pretty big. I knew it off the top of my head. We'd have to look it up again. But there were a large number of girls that were damaged by that HPV vaccine. And that was phase 1 trials. And what they had claimed is that they had not received full disclosure on what they were getting in that vaccination. And what's interesting is that there was another clip that I found yesterday, and I don't know if it was 1 or 2 here, but here, this made me laugh. Actually, I think it was this first one about the ethical concerns of using a phase 1 trial. So these Ebola vaccines, this is what I was talking about earlier today. They've been working on this stuff for a while now, and they're using this RNAi technology. Brand new, same technology they're going to be using for GMO 2.0 with Monsanto, where your RNA can go in and manipulate your DNA, okay, and start playing around with your immune system. This isn't like old school vaccinations where they're going to give you an antibody and your body is naturally going to build up its own defenses against it. This is going in and flipping switches in your DNA, okay, turning on and off. The virus-like particles that are in the HPV vaccine are actually synthetic virus particles that they load up with nanotechnology. And then the synthetic virus triggers your immune system. All right, there's a couple different things that they're doing here, but all of it is pretty much untested in human beings. So these new phase 1 trials with the Ebola, they're now just moving it to phase 2. And we're going to take a look at that. There was a brand new story yesterday that came out about phase 2 getting ready to run in Africa again. Remember, India, Africa, that's where they start doing the large-scale trials with lots of the disposable people, right?
Right, because they go out, they're from villages, so they don't keep track. They just...
Well, exactly. They don't keep track, and how the hell are these people going to be fully informed? So in this clip about it's titled, "With the Ebola Vaccine Comes Ethical Questions," what made me laugh just listening to this is this asshole saying about how they handed these African villagers the 20-page full disclosure statement to read before they got the shot. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? So an African villager is going to read 20 pages of pharmaceutical techno-babble and understand what you're putting in them, right? Especially when it comes down to, I mean, we're talking literal DNA manipulation, okay? Like, they're going to be geneticists to be able to understand this. And I will guarantee you that they did not have a doctor sitting there answering all their questions and explaining it to them with diagrams. So here, check this out. Here comes.
This is frankly extraordinary. We are trying to do in a few months, which something that might typically take 10 years.
By the way, this is, i.e., we're fast-tracking the vaccine. That's what that means. Without the proper testing or safety efficacy.
This is frankly extraordinary. We are trying to do in a few months, which something that might typically take 10 years. We've had accelerated reviews of all our applications, regulatory and ethical approvals and so on. And we got going in a few weeks. And we're now trying to proceed so quickly that if things go well, by the end of this year, this vaccine might actually be being used in the 3 affected countries in West Africa. And if that happens, that would be truly extraordinary. But by the end of the year, even if we have enough vaccine manufacture to start using it, we have enough data showing that it's safe, and we have measured lots of immune responses, that still doesn't tell us that it actually works. So we're going to have to figure out a way of using the vaccine and at the same time evaluating it. And there's a great deal of discussion about how you might do that now.
Exactly. And then there's an awful lot of discussion as well as to whether, precisely because of these issues you've raised, this is actually ethical.
Stop. He
God.
physically says we don't know if it works, and even though we get immune response, we can put it in all these people. We don't really know. You know,
that'll be the test.
That's the test, and then we'll see what happens. And I mean that. What's her last name? Ampour, is that her name? I don't remember her first name. She's married to some globalist. That reporter. What's her first name? Her last name's Ampour, that woman that was just talking. Right. But yes, is this ethical? Well, remember, there's no global ethics board for any of this stuff, and that's something that I've talked about a lot in regards to this transhumanism bullshit. All this stuff is going on, and I mean, we're talking literal in these Ebola vaccinations. We've done tons of research on this. In some of these, they are physically changing your DNA. They are manipulating things and turning DNA switches on and off. And that was never allowed in humans until, lo and behold, we had an emergency, quote unquote, emergency that allowed us to fast track it. You heard him. We fast tracked it. We did 10 years of research in a very short period of time. Remember, in a week. Remember, they had all of this DARPA money that was already sprinkled out there in all these different pharmaceutical companies under the name of national security for bioterror. And right before the Ebola outbreak, we had read that some of these pharmaceutical companies, even though they had no product to produce, they had all these employees that they'd been paying with God knows what money from pre-seed funding money, ready to go public right as the Ebola quote-unquote emergency
Imagine the coincidence.
Yeah, imagine the coincidences with that. So then we get human trials that were not ethical before, but they sure are now because, lo and behold, we're going to save humanity. So here, let's hear the rest of this.
Do you have any trouble with that? Are you discussing that at your conferences and as you propose to distribute this?
So I don't think there's any discussion about whether it's ethical to use a vaccine in a phase 1 trial. such as the one we're doing at the moment, in very well-informed individuals who have 15 or 20 pages of information that they have to read about the trial and the possible risks. That's not...
In Africa, mind you.
Yeah, medical jargon.
Did you hear that? It's ethical when you give them all the information with 15 to 20 pages to read.
Right.
A freaking African villager in Nigeria or wherever the hell they're... I mean, there were like 4 different regions of Africa that they were getting ready with all these different pharma. Each one was going to be doing a different clinical trial. And they had in Oxford, England. And
they signed
there was...
it with an X. That's
what?
it.
Yes,
and
sign it with an X. Exactly. All right, let's continue.
Not the issue. The issue is once you've shown safety in those individuals, do you go on to deploy the vaccine in a very large population, ideally of healthcare workers who are at greatest risk, without knowing that the vaccine actually works?
Pause. Yes. Well, guess where we had talked about there was going to be a large number of, maybe not healthcare workers, but a large number of people heading to Africa that they'd be able to give that vaccine to. The military. Remember when everyone questioned, why the hell were we sending the military to go fight Ebola in Africa? Well, I will guarantee you that there were experimental vaccines given before they sent them over there.
Oh, yeah, because they didn't have hazmat suits or anything. They didn't need it because they're all vaccinated.
Well, I mean, if you need any type of historical data on that, take a look at what happened when we had the quote-unquote anthrax scare over in Iraq, and they sent the Iraqi veterans over there back in the early 90s.
Yep, and gave them all that anthrax vaccine.
They gave them the anthrax vaccine with what? Oh, the untested squalene adjuvant.
They're all still sick.
And they are all still sick, absolutely. All right, here, we're going to hear the rest of this clip.
Not the issue. The issue is once you've shown safety in those individuals, do you go on to deploy the vaccine in a very large population, ideally of healthcare workers who are at greatest risk, without knowing that the vaccine actually works? Or instead, do you wait several months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, to prove absolutely that the vaccine has a certain efficacy and then start thinking about deploying it widely? And
Gee.
Well,
what kind of an idiotic question is that? I couldn't believe he even said that.
Wow.
Or do you wait and make sure it's safe before you start giving it to large numbers of people? Holy shit! Oh, my God. All right, here, the very last little clip.
And if you wait that long, the epidemic might either be over or the whole thing might be completely out of control.
It would be over, so they couldn't do their testing.
Right! Oh, shit! We didn't make the profits.
Oh, my God.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Oh.
Jeez, that made... Oh,
it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
It's worse than that.
And don't think, the flu thing, the swine flu, all these are man-made bullshit stories to get their testing through because, FDA approval is a lot of jumping through hoops, man. It means you got to prove a lot of shit safe before it becomes approved. So you know what? We just got to make an emergency, and then look, approval's easy. Yep. And look, we get human guinea pigs to use, too.
And why would we wait until it's over?
And why would we wait until it's approved safe?
God.
Well, we could be doing real-time testing and saving all that time. Oh, my God. So, here's the, I don't know, this one, here, this is a little more Ebola. This is another clip that came right after this. Experimental an anti-vaccine that is a precursor with experimental means run away screaming. Do not get in line. Do not pass go. All right, here we go.
Results from the first stage of human testing for a potential Ebola vaccine appear promising. The National Institutes of Health's initial trial found the experimental vaccine so far is safe for humans and produced an immune response. Researchers found anti-Ebola antibodies in the blood of all 20 healthy adult volunteers. Half the group received a higher dose with corresponding results.
Virtually all of the people who received the higher dose got a very robust antibody response, which is the classical response that vaccines elicit.
Can I tell you something, though? What worries me so much, and what I haven't seen discussed at all, and trust me, because I lived through this, is autoimmune responses. You know, you have his exact words, a robust immune response. But you know what? A robust immune response isn't always a good thing. It depends on what that robust immune response is against.
Yeah, it's aiming for.
Right. If the robust immune response is against an external pathogen that is attacking the body, then great. But if the robust immune response goes awry and starts attacking your internal organs, that's not a good thing. That could kill you. And so as they're manipulating your immune system and turning switches on and off to get your immune response to recognize or not recognize certain things, see, they don't really know what they're doing. And you might flip one switch that affects 10 more, but they don't know that yet. So when we were reading about all these HPV deaths and narcolepsy and all this shit, you know, that's what they're learning right now, is what immune response affects something else, what DNA switch affects something else. Right. Why would you make your kid Generation 1 testing? I just don't get how freaking stupid people are. And why they would believe these assholes who really don't have your health in mind. The sicker you are, the more money they make. That's it.
Exactly. Yep.
That's it. All right, let's listen to a little bit more.
Participants also developed another key type of virus-fighting immune cells. There were no serious adverse effects. The findings mean the potential vaccine can move to the next phase of testing, which would involve thousands of participants and could start early next year.
We're hoping to start this much, much larger efficacy trial in first Liberia to determine if it actually works.
Oh. Again, another African country. Yep, to determine if it works. And I posted a story yesterday, and that was actually what got me to think about these clips, because those trials are just getting ready to start now. This is a little bit older clip from last year. So here, let me play the very end of this.
The vaccine being tested was co-developed by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and GlaxoSmithKline.
GlaxoSmithKline, weren't they just involved in some big fraud lawsuit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought so. Oh. This gets me upset. All right, hold on. The echo starts again. All right, I just killed it. You know what I think we're going to talk about tomorrow? I had talked about this quite a number of times, but there was a brand new story about the connections between, and I postulated this, and I couldn't believe I found a story about it, the connections that they've found now between Alzheimer's, mad cow disease, and chronic wasting disease. Weren't we just talking about that last week? Yeah. Well, guess what? There's all kinds of similarities, and I'm still telling you, I think it's mad cow, and they just covered it all up, and now they're going, oh, yeah, look at this epidemic of Alzheimer's.
Yep.
Because we've just been ingesting aluminum everywhere. And, you know, aluminum was used for years as the adjuvant in vaccines.
Yeah.
By the way.
And everyone's cooking with it now, too.
Well, they were even in the 80s. I remember when my mother got her brand new set of pots and pans, and they were all aluminum.
Aluminum, yep. And when you heat it, the toxins go straight into your foods.
Yep. And then, you know, whatever they're spraying over the head, they've been finding a lot of aluminum.
Oh, and then people's hair. You know, people that aren't sick or anything, they go in, they have their hair twisted, and the aluminum is off the scale.
Yeah. Where do we see that? That wasn't...
that was part of the geoengineering. What in the world are they spraying?
That's what I thought. Yeah, they were finding high amounts of aluminum in the hair testing.
Even people that die of other things, they've been testing the hair, and they not even just Alzheimer's, anything. They're finding high levels of aluminum in everybody's hair.
Wow,
that's scary.
If this will let me continue to the site and skip this ad, I can take a look at this. This was a story out of probably, I would have to say, this is probably one of the first publications that really got me into science. I think Discover Magazine, because it was easier to read, was where I started as a teenager. But Scientific American is where when I was in college, I used to get that, and it was all kinds of really deep dive research into all kinds of different technological advances, and it always used to make my brain hurt. But I hung out with engineers back in those days, so if I didn't understand something, I always had a friend that I could go, hey, explain this to me. What the hell are they talking about? But Scientific American released a story January 6, 2015. That clip we were just listening to was probably from December, and this one is now this month. And yes, untested Ebola drugs begin trials in West Africa. So it is actually starting to begin. Medical charities say they have started trials of untested drug treatments on Ebola patients in Liberia and, Guinea. For the first time in an effort to control an epidemic that has killed more than 8,000 people in the region. And if you notice, right as these trials were beginning, what did we see pop up in not one but two countries over the last few weeks, but two Ebola cases?
Mm-hmm.
One was in the UK and one was in Germany, I believe. And didn't we all forget about Ebola? They had to make sure they got that in the news again.
It was a precursor.
Well, it was just to get it back into memory, because remember, they actually pulled this ace of spades back and they slipped it into their sleeve for later.
Yep.
And I'm telling you where I'm seeing this all go. We're having all these crazy attacks in France, which notice I managed to go almost for a whole show without
I'm shocked.
And don't forget that right before the attacks in France, where else did we have like a horrifying terror attack but Australia? Mm-hmm. And with that already came these new anti-terror laws that were going to allow them with one warrant to surveil all the internet in Australia. Brandon did a whole show about that last week. I played that actually 3 times this week, so if you missed it, shame on you. It's on the UCY YouTube. You should definitely listen to it. He also wrote 2 or 3 articles about the march forward to the police state in Australia. And don't forget, Australia is more New World Order than we are. That's a lot of where they do their test bed. That Port Arthur massacre is what they were trying to use last year or the year before, whenever Sandy Hook happened. I had called that one out. I was like, oh, you watch Barry come out and call in the name of the Port Arthur massacre for gun control in this country. And sure enough, he did his executive actions. And then didn't the former Prime Minister of Australia pop up like a whack-a-mole talking about how he was going to advise the President of the United States to do what he did during the Port Arthur massacre. And look at how their death numbers went down after they banned all the guns. Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, look at how great it is here. You know, Australia is socialized medicine. They have rationing cards for cigarettes, and you are considered an addict. You have to go to your doctor to be allotted your amount of nicotine for the month. I'm telling you, Australia is a test bed for what is coming here next. So the fact that we saw a false flag attack, and you know, SLC Mike had pointed something out to me, something that I haven't actually hit Brandon up with, but I wanted to, and I should ask Pigmine too. SLC happened to notice that for all the clips that Pigmine posted from all the different news sources from that Australian false flag, or whatever you want to call it, the Sydney siege is the official name. Every clip, regardless of the network, happened to be the same angles provided by BBC.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting
I didn't
is
catch that. Wow.
It's pretty interesting. So the fact that this happened in France, I am going to predict that somewhere in Europe is next, like the UK or Italy. And what did I see? Oh, 2 things are what I saw recently. There was one story that had talked about ISIS potentially being infected with Ebola. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And there were quote-unquote unconfirmed reports. And then I saw over the weekend that, yes, ISIS is saying they're coming here next. Mm-hmm. So, like I said many times before, Typhoid Mary, standing in the middle of a large city, any pre-apocalyptic, then post-apocalyptic pandemic movie that you've ever seen is Typhoid Mary goes and stands in the middle of a city. And what is going to be coming as a series on the Sci-Fi Channel here very shortly is 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, though that was one of my all-time favorite movies, that's exactly what 12 Monkeys is about. So I say put on a seatbelt, people. I don't think any of this is accident. I think this is just the slow march to getting you to accept it. And so here, I want to read a little bit of this untested Ebola drug story, though, because, I see the name of one of our dear friends that we did lots of research on a few months ago, and that was Chimerix. Remember them?
Mm-hmm.
Chimera, the Chimerix. Yes, DARPA funded, went public right before Ebola hit the headlines. How mysterious that was.
It's another one of them damn coincidences.
Yes, I mean, just, isn't it amazing how things work out?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The World Health Organization gave its approval for the use of experimental drugs on West African Ebola patients in August. But, damn, it has taken this long to organize trials and get limited supplies of the drugs to the affected countries. Medicines Sans Frontiers, which must be, it looks like a French company. Yes. This is the French company that was in the thing that had the DARPA funding, said on Tuesday that it began giving its Brindacafor. Remember, we did like 2 days on that Brindacafor and Chimerix, developed by the North Carolina-based Chimerix, to confirmed Ebola patients this month in Monrovia, which is the capital of Liberia. Now, all right, confirmed Ebola patient, you're probably half dead here. Just put your bloody fingerprint and we'll give you a treatment that could very well save your life.
Right.
Or not.
Or not.
We don't know. It's not tested, but you don't need to know that here. You want an experimental drug?
Yeah, you're dying anyway, so take it.
Ebola patients, you dying cancer patients, take it, because we have all kinds of clinical trials that we're going to use you as a guinea pig for.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Jake Dunning from Oxford University, that's where they did the other phase 1 clinical trials, which is leading the trial itself, said the antiviral drug has been effective in the laboratory tests against Ebola-infected cells. Quote, we do not know yet if this will be effective against Ebola in humans. That is why we must do a trial.
Well, a friend of mine was dying of brain cancer, and he went for this experimental drug. He had to sign a contract that he would not try anything else.
Well, because we looked at that one kid that was dying, and they wanted the Brindacafor, and they wouldn't give it to him, and it was because they were getting ready to go public, and they didn't want bad press. If the kid died, it would make them look bad.
Yep.
It's disgusting.
It's sickening. They take a person that's dying, that's desperate. Sign here.
Well, desperation. And remember, that's the name of the game. That's what they use desperation against us in many, many ways. All right, we got a minute left here, so I'm not going to be able to read too much more. 45 seconds. Maybe we continue on this tomorrow, and then we spin it out, because there are other interesting things that I wanted to talk about. There's still another clip here. I might actually leave this open about the Adderall prescriptions and mothers that are stealing their ADHD drug from their children to make themselves super moms. And what I couldn't even believe is the fact that it's so freaking addictive. They all get addicted, and when they can't get it anymore, then they move on to meth. What? We're giving that shit to our kids?
That's being sold on the black market because it's
all
stronger.
Right, Zorie, it's done, man. Here we go. 5 seconds. Okay. All right. Thank you for being on today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's Monday night. Make sure you stick around. We got new shows on. All kinds of great stuff. Guys. All right, everyone, have an awesome Monday. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. Take care.